Today, I'm going to show you the internal value gleaned from solo traveling. So if you're feeling on the fence about going on your first solo trip, this video is going to convince you to do it. And if you're new here, hey, I'm Rachel and I'm on a mission to live well. Here we talk about all things spirituality, natural living, travel, financial wellness, and everything in between. So if that interests you, subscribe and stick around, and I'm happy you're here with us. And I know there's a lot of flowers around. I actually just celebrated my birthday this week and my friends were so amazing and got me so many incredible flowers. I've never had this many flowers before, so I figured it was a really good background for the video today. And for background, in 2024, I went on my first 2-week solo trip to Portugal, and last year I went on my first 3.5-month solo trip to Southeast Asia. And for both of these trips, I was absolutely terrified and did not want to go alone. But it ended up being one of the best things I've ever done. And I'm so grateful for the lessons that I learned and honestly proud of the person that I've become on the other side of these trips. And so I'm gonna share some of the lessons that I've learned and how I've seen myself change as a result of going on these solo trips. I know that you're gonna learn them too once you solo travel. And I was really inspired to make this video today because I actually just got back from the Cayman Islands a few days ago, and it was actually my first trip that I went on with friends since coming back from Southeast Asia. And oh my God, I've changed so much and I didn't even realize. And so seeing how I showed up on this trip differently really inspired me to make this video because I got to see all of the benefits that came from even months and years later after my solo trips. So without further ado, let's jump in. The first is that you get more in touch with what you want and need. And what I mean by that is that throughout my life, I was super go with the flow. I would have that groupthink, people-pleasing mentality that I thought made me really easy to travel with. And while it did make me easygoing, it also left me feeling really unfulfilled. And oftentimes I'd go along with an activity that didn't interest me at all, pay for excursions that I didn't want to do. Sometimes I'd skip meals to not make a fuss, or alternatively, I'd have to rush through a meal to keep up with the group. And after trips, I would feel super exhausted and I'd actually be craving a vacation from the vacation. But when you're traveling on your own, there is no one else around to give you input. You make your own schedule, your own itinerary, you decide where to eat, when to eat, what to do, what temperature you want to sleep with, and you're getting in touch with what you actually want. This is honestly an incredible opportunity that not a lot of people have, to not have anyone else determining what you want to make you happy. And at first, this was actually really uncomfortable for me because my first thought is, well, what does everyone else want? But what do I want? And this was really new for me, and I realized that I often offloaded my decision making because figuring out what I actually wanted to do was really challenging for me. But through solo travel, you'll have so many opportunities to practice this vital skill that is applicable in every aspect of life upon coming home. And at first that can be scary, but it really turns into self-trust and self-love. You develop a much better relationship with yourself. And the way that I most recently saw this play out on my trip this week was that the girls that I went with had super packed agendas. They were go, go, go from 7 a.m. until dark. And I decided not to. I actually decided to just take it easy and do what I wanted. This allowed me to eat slowly, do my whole morning routine, work out every single day, call my mom. I just actually felt on vacation instead of rushing around to appease everyone else. And I still had the whole day to do whatever I wanted. And this vacation, I actually came home feeling great and not drained at all. The second is that you feel more comfortable being alone. And I'm sure this one doesn't come as a surprise because I started out by saying I was super scared to go on this trip, but I didn't used to be comfortable being alone. I had a fear around loneliness and isolation that I was terrified would come up a lot in my solo travels. But there is literally no better exposure therapy than going on a solo trip to get you used to being on your own. Going on a solo trip is the exposure therapy that you need to love yourself and start to love your own company. My grandma always used to say when I was a kid, you're born alone, you live alone, you die alone. It sounds really morbid, but it's true. You, at the end of the day, are the only person that you are always with. You know that saying, wherever you go, there you are? It's true. So you might as well work on your relationship with yourself and not be so scared to be alone. There's really no better way to do it than just practicing. And going on a solo trip forces you into that discomfort until it becomes really comfortable. The way that I saw that play out on my trip is that I actually enjoyed my alone time just as much as my time with my friends. It gave me the space to reflect, to journal, to swim as long as I want, to take care of my body and work out. And now I actually really need and crave solo time to recoup after being with people. The third is that I make connections way easier when I solo travel. I always used to think that I looked more approachable if I was with a friend because for some reason I thought that I'd look like a loser if I was alone, but it's actually completely not true. I've learned that people approach me way more when I am solo than when I'm with my friends. People are more likely to strike up a conversation, include you to sit at their table, tell you that you can come join an activity if you are not already with other people. The way that this played out on my most recent trip was that the girls were gone in the morning, like I said, and so I went to breakfast alone. I ended up sitting next to a woman alone, and we just naturally struck up a conversation. And it turns out we actually had a lot in common, had so much to talk about, and she gave me recommendations for a restaurant to eat at and an activity to do. But I know that if my friends were at the breakfast table with me, the chances that I would have connected with this woman are very slim. The fourth is that you're more open-minded to new experiences. When you solo travel, you learn that not everything goes to plan. Even if you have the absolutely perfect itinerary, things come up, you meet new people, opportunities arise. But previously I would have been pretty set in my ways of wanting things to go the way that they had planned. But through solo travel, I've learned that oftentimes when things don't work out, it's because there's something even better on the other side of it. And this has made me so much more open to the spontaneous experiences that really make the trip memorable. For example, on this trip, we drove over 20 minutes to go to the best snorkeling spot, but there was a huge riptide that prevented us from going in the water, and so we had to pivot. It turns out the beach that we pivoted to, after we were finished snorkeling, we met these locals on the beach who invited us to their beach barbecue to hang out with their friends and get to know the people who lived there. This ended up being my highlight of the entire trip. And if things had gone to plan, I wouldn't have gotten this experience. But because of solo travel, I actually typically have this lens on, not just on my trips, but in my normal life too. When things don't work out, I know that there is something better on the other side. And the fifth is that I feel like a more independent and autonomous person that can better take care of myself. And before solo traveling, I described myself as more of a type B planner when it came to logistics. I would really let everyone else handle it. I would let them plan the hotels, look at the maps, plan the itinerary and destinations. I was more of a backseat participant. I would say that this is because I enjoy everything, but really I just didn't feel comfortable planning it or doing the research myself. Now, this is a topic that I actually deep dive into in my intro to solo backpacking video, but I now feel so much more comfortable planning my own trips. I know how to take control, I know how to do research, and I know how to make the most out of it. Going on a solo trip where you have no one else to rely on, you have to be self-reliant, and this spills into every aspect of your life when you get home. There is no more offloading decision-making. There is no one else planning logistics for you, and this has helped me in every area of my life. So if you want more tips on exactly how I do my research, you can watch my first video on an intro to backpacking, which I'll link at the end of this one. Those are the top 5 ways that solo travel has changed my life and how I've grown as a person from it. I hope this encourages you to lean into the discomfort and book that solo trip. And as a reminder, before my first big solo trip, I felt sick to my stomach with the anxiety. I know that this is a really big leap, but it still reigns as one of the best things I've ever done for myself. And all the benefits are still continuing to show themselves. So go watch that backpacking video and start planning your big trip today. You won't regret it.